This podcast is sponsored by Prime Movement. Prime Movement is for people who want to return to training after an injury, learn how to manage musculoskeletal issues while training, or who want to begin training but are not sure how to get started. They provide a whole systems approach to care. You can work one-on-one for an hour with their clinicians to determine an individualized treatment plan that will get to the root cause of your pain or dysfunction, and then apply principles of both physical therapy and strength conditioning to build a stronger system to keep your issues from returning. For a free consultation, follow the link in the show notes and get one scheduled today.
Hey, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. I'm your host, Ross Bartachek, and I got a very special guest joining me on the podcast today from out west. He's on the great website, NEWrestle.com. We got Mr. Dru Kastler on. How you doing?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, I mean, everyone, the talk coming in, from Iowa's perspective is like this season, the home schedule is like the holy grail. First in 2019, we got to see Wisconsin. That was a pretty big duel. But everybody was really, that was like a really fun. I mean, Iowa ended up hammering them, which was kind of crazy. But nobody saw that coming as big as it was. But I guess there's a lot of things about this Iowa team maybe people didn't see coming. But this particular stretch of the season is something I think a lot of people were excited about because we got, Nebraska coming in this weekend, Ohio State the weekend after that, and then, of course, Penn State. Everyone's got that one circled, no matter what year it is. So this kind of kicks off a really huge weekend. So I thought no better time than to bring on my Nebraska expert, Dru, to kind of talk about this team. So why don't you kind of give us, we're Iowa. Everybody's been just focused in tunnel vision on Iowa's title chances, but why don't you kind of give us a little bit of background on this Nebraska team coming in?
Well, this year Nebraska's been about as high as number 3 in the rankings and maybe even number 2 in a few. Pretty exciting season. You got Alex Thompson, 4-time Iowa State champ, leading off the lineup at 125 for Nebraska. They pulled Ridge Levette's red shirt. He's true freshman this year at 133 pounds, and he came out in Vegas at the Cliff Keen and got third, I think, in the whole thing, beat some ranked guys along the way. Chad Redd, returning All-American, 141. Purinton at 49. He's kind of worked his way up as the seasons went on and kind of fills in pretty well at 149. Peyton Robb, 157. That's big hole there with Tyler Berger, national runner-up. The kiss blower from the Iowa duel last year. Him being out of the lineup, there's a question mark there, and Robb's been doing a great job. And then you get 165, 174, 184. Nebraska's super strong. Isaiah White, Mikey Labriola, Taylor Venz, Eric Schultz, 197. And then they've kind of been bouncing around with the 285s a little bit this year, trying to find the right guy there. But, Nebraska's got a really strong team. I don't know if it's going to be quite enough to give the Hawkeyes a run for their money this year or not, but they're young. They're very talented, and they're going to win some matches this week, I'm sure. So hopefully it's not 41-0 like both the Iowa schools in Indiana this weekend. So.
Yeah, that was, again, I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of things about this season for Iowa that's been, really unexpected. And I don't think blanking Indiana was a shock, but yeah, blanking Purdue. This kind of seems like a team that's motivated right now. I want to talk about what happened last weekend for Nebraska because I was looking at Intermat's rankings and I was licking my chops because this was going to be I was going to be able to build this as number 1 versus number 2 in duel.
Yeah.
And was it in Madison? Is that where they went? Is that what?
It was in Madison. Nebraska lost 25-17. They got down big. They gave up pins at 125 and 149. Chad Red at 141 got cradled up. Lost that match to Moran, who's really good. But Chad Red's the 2X All-American, so you kind of expected him to get the win there. But, on the road and after Christmas, Nebraska's only had, since the UNI duel, which is like early December, I think they had one more duel in December, and then that one against Wisconsin, maybe a little rust to kick off. But, 157, Rob, he had a tech fall. Isaiah White lost a tough one to Evan Wick. Those two guys are really, really good. So, and they've always had close matches. And I think Wick normally kind of wins those matches with White. So, and then, from there on, 74, 84, 97, Nebraska won those matches. So, I mean, it was just a couple things in the lower weights, really, probably that lost him that duel. And it's tough when you lose momentum on the road, and it's not going to get any easier going to Carver Hawkeye this week. But, last year's duel with Iowa was 20-13, I think was the score. Iowa won, and I think it came down to the last match. DeSanto teched the guy Nebraska had in there. So Nebraska maybe matches up all right with Iowa. A couple different faces in the lineup for the Huskers, and I know, Iowa's been killing it all year, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this duel does have a lot of good individual matchups. I think the big theme for Iowa is they got a lot of bonus potential, and especially in the first 2 spots in the lineup. I mean, that's really hard to overcome. Spencer Lee can tech fall a guy in the first period.
And Lee's going to probably wrestle Alex Thompson for Nebraska, and Thompson's been pretty successful on his feet, but he's, let's be honest, he's just having a little trouble getting up off bottom, and I'm pretty confident that the coaches and him, they'll get that all worked out by the time it counts this year. But, if you're struggling on bottom, Spencer Lee's really not the guy you want to wrestle. So,
right. I mean, that's kind of always that. I mean, we've seen a lot of Alex. I'm sure you have too, from him being out in Western Iowa. But I mean, that's kind of that was his thing where, I mean, he really didn't even work on bottom or top in high school. He was all just like, I'm going to wrestle you on your feet. And it's just been crazy to watch him. Obviously we're following him, and he's wrestling guys, and he's up like 12 points, and then his opponent comes back.
He's had plenty of those matches this year, and again, I'm sure they're probably working pretty hard on it there in the room. He's been winning matches by comfortable margins, multiple takedowns to none, and then gives up some points on bottom, and hopefully they can kind of work through that. He's still just a redshirt freshman, so I mean, he's got a long way to go, and he's got a lot of talent, so he'll be there by the end of the year, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that, I mean, like you said, I mean, that's stylistically, that's going to be really bad when Spencer's known for his bar tilts, and if you're not good on bottom, that's just a bad style matchup. And then at 33, Austin DeSanto, who, I mean, that was another thing that I took away from this weekend is DeSanto was kind of like Thompson, where he's just going to pound you on your feet, right? And versus Indiana and Purdue, all of a sudden he was like turning guys. I think he pinned the Indiana guy, and he teched the Purdue wrestler, Ford Melton. But he did it with a couple turns, so I was kind of surprised there. But I mean, what can we expect out of Ridge Levitt? I know he was he's a really highly regarded guy coming out of high school. I know he's really young, but what's his season been like so far? He's ranked 13th, so he's obviously done some things right.
Yeah, they pulled his red shirt prior to the Cliff Keen. He wrestled at the Northern Iowa duel, and he lost that match. But then he came out at the Cliff Keen and got third Probably surprised a ton of people. Made the semifinals, lost to Bridges from Wyoming, who's a All-American, really tough. Ends up coming back and getting third place. Really had a great tournament, kind of put everybody on notice. He just lost to Seth Groves in the Wisconsin duel this last weekend. And, he hung in there pretty well. I think the final score might have been 12-6, 12-7. But he wrestled Gross pretty hard. They got in some good positions. And, I know DeSanto's a different type of wrestler, and he won't stop, and he'll keep coming. So, I don't know. I mean, that might be a match where I was expecting bonus points, where Nebraska can keep it to a decision or keep it close and maybe make something happen. We'll see. I don't know. He's just a young guy, and he's turning up. So
yeah, I definitely kind of really interested. I mean, Willie Saylor's, I know he's really close with Brian Snyder, but he's given a lot of love to Ridge Lovett. So I mean, I think that probably put him on a lot of people's radar. Like, wait, who the hell is Ridge Lovett? Like, do I need to, like, if you didn't know his high school accolades, you had to look him up and see what's going on there. So
Fargo champ.
Yep.
Yeah, he's great.
So that's kind of an interesting one. But so coming into this duel, if you're just looking at rankings, Iowa's favored in 9 out of 10. But I think, again, that's a little misleading because I'm looking at 141, and Murin's got three ranking spots over Chad Red. But he lost the main. Was it at Big Tens or NCAAs?
It was at NCAAs. I'm pretty sure Red beat him at NCAAs.
That's right.
Yeah, so they didn't meet up at Big Tens.
And I can't remember if it was. Did Iowa must have wrestled like Turk in the duel? I was gonna go try and look it up.
Yes, it was Turk because everyone was thinking it was Murin for a little while there, and then maybe you pointed out to me last year that it was Turk wrestling that match. Chad Red, he's a gamer. He shows up at Big Tens and NCAAs every year. He lost to Moran from Wisconsin this last weekend. Hopefully he bounces back, but he's beaten Murin head to head before. So can he do it again? Let's hope so. It should. I bet it's close. I'm guessing it's a super close match.
Oh man, I mean that's going to be, that'll be a real big match from Iowa's perspective. Everyone's talking about, today the talk on Flow Wrestling Radio Live was, can Iowa have 10 All-Americans? And don't get me wrong, Chad Red's got, pretty good ceiling. He's got a lot of talent to place really high, but if Murin's going to make the podium too, he's got to be able to beat a guy like Chad Red. So this is like a really big, you got this match circled because there's a lot of potential to see. Murin's beaten Moran, and I think he's beaten him twice now, and he's beaten Heil. Yep. He's beaten some tough kids this year, but this is when you're really beating somebody that's credentialed. It might be one of his biggest wins of the season if he could get it. So definitely got a lot riding on that one, and I think you're right. I think it's gonna be close. I hope it's close because I thought Chad Red, Michael Blockus was gonna be close.
Well, and that's the thing. Red can explode, man. He's in high school, he was really known for his prowess on top. He can put up points quick if you give him an opening. He's done it multiple times to Blockus. I actually think they've wrestled 3 times now, 2 or 3 times, and every time I think Red's gotten some near fall points on him. So Blockus is a great wrestler. Don't give Chad Red an opening or he'll exploit it. So.
Right. So that's definitely the big one. I don't know if it's the biggest one, but because I'm probably going to say that again is why I say that.
Yeah, I have one circled that I'm really looking forward to.
That 149, Pat Lugo, Colin Puritan. That's kind of a...
Yeah.
Last year, I'm definitely not as confident as I am right now, but Pat Lugo is actually wrestling really well.
Yeah, he's wrestling great. It wasn't Puritan he wrestled last year. I can't remember who it was. Lugo's not, well, at least maybe not, or prior to this year, is not really known for racking up the points. So, obviously Puritan for Nebraska is not going to be favored there, but, can we keep it close? Couple points, perhaps. I mean, Purinton's kind of funky. He's taller, longer, and he can cause problems with his leverage. So,
and he beat Max Thompson.
Yep.
At the
the duel. That was a wild match, wasn't it?
Yeah, Shearer wrestled in the duel last year. I finally just pulled it up since we're talking about it enough. So yeah, that's kind of last year. I definitely wouldn't be as confident, but this year I do feel a little bit better about Pat Lugo. But I feel like that's kind of one of those sleeper matches you got to look out for. It's probably definitely more in his favor, Lugo's favor, that it's in Carver to.
Yeah.
He'll have some energy behind him in the crowd. I believe in that. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to be a big thing for Nebraska, coming off a road loss, and then they got to go to the, probably the most hostile environment of, any venue in college wrestling and compete at a high level. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for everybody, So, it's going to be a tough ask for Purinton to win that match, but you never know.
So, all right. Now you said you got a match that you personally circled. I have a feeling it's in these next 4, but I'm not sure. Is it this one?
Nope.
It's not. So it's not. Okay. Well, Caleb Young,
no, it's not.
Peyton Robb. I didn't know if you were thinking, hey, maybe Robb's got a shot. Young hasn't looked as great as people were hoping.
Hey, Robb's 12-2. I mean, we definitely don't want to write him off on this one. You're right. Caleb Young has kind of been squeaking by some close ones to, ones that maybe you think he'd be winning by 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Definitely probably a glimmer of hope there for Peyton Robb. He's redshirt freshman. But yeah, 12-2. I mean, that kind of tells the tale right there. He's wrestled at Cliff Keen. He's wrestled all over. So he's doing well for the Huskers this year.
I know. I think out of Iowa's, guys you were feeling pretty good about coming back this year, Young's probably been, whereas Lugo's been their biggest overperformer on what your expectations were. Young's probably underperforming just a little bit, but Monday's. Yeah. Trying to think who else. Oh, well, he lost to Carr, which is definitely, you give him a pass on that one. So I guess Monday's probably his only. It's not a bad loss, but a loss you probably weren't expecting. So. Yeah.
Well, long season,
right? Yeah,
sometimes it happens, but definitely don't want to be overlooking Peyton Robb, but by any stretch of the imagination. He beat Corey Teamer in Vegas, who's from Arizona State, who's had a wonderful
he's tough.
Freestyle and Greco, and he's great wrestler. That's a great win for him. I think 5-0 was the score of that one. So he was top 8 in Vegas, and I don't know that he's lost in a duel yet this year. Had a tech fall over the Wisconsin kid this last weekend. So yeah, he's looking sharp. Could be a good match.
All right. So now, is this the one you got circled? Alex Marinelli versus Isaiah White?
Nope, not yet.
Dang it. All right. Well, all right. So, but this one on paper is the highest ranked head-to-head matchup.
Yeah.
I got to pull it up because it was just, I think it was 3-0 last year. Mm-hmm. Did it go to sudden victory, or did Marinelli did he ice it right at the end? It was tight.
Yeah. 3-0, and it was regulation. I'm sure of that. I don't remember otherwise, but
gotcha. Yep. So that one was that one up. I mean, that should be probably a close match, but Marinelli's just kind of money. I don't think he's lost in Carver, so I'm definitely I'm never gonna pick against him until he does. He's kind of seeming like he's got that momentum on his side for that. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't know that White has ever beaten Marinelli. Marinelli beat him in the duel, finished ahead of him at Big Tens. But White actually finished ahead of Marinelli in NCAAs.
Right.
I believe. So, it kind of goes to show you how tough the Big Ten and all that is. But, if he can score a first period takedown or two, that's how he wins his matches. He can score quick in the first period, and if he's able to do that against Marinelli, it's going to be a good match. But first takedown I think is going to be a huge in this one for sure.
Yeah. Well, their only meeting was a 3-0-1, so it's kind of insane. Like, and I'm gonna go off track here, but like, some of these guys haven't faced each other that have been in the lineup for a while. Like, Max Murin only ran into Chad Red at Nationals. Like, you're in the same conference, you don't see him till Nationals. Marinelli,
yeah,
he's, like you said, White places higher than him at Nationals, but he only saw him in the duel. It's just kind of crazy how that happens. But
yeah, and it is just a regular season duel, so who knows if these are going to be the guys that they put out. I know Nebraska has another pretty good option at 141. If Chad Red's not going to be 100% or something like that, they got Christian Miller, who's pretty tough. They have a few other good 149s that are, maybe not quite where Purinton's at, but they're pretty close. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see some other guys in there too for Nebraska, at least. Maybe not at 165, but
right. Well, that's a good point. I mean, Iowa might. Talk about 41 or with Murin and his giant shoulder brace, which I think it adds a part every duel. Because I think he added an elbow guard between Indiana and Purdue, it looked like. But so maybe they go with Carter Happel in this duel, depending on how things are going, where they start. But all right. So do you have the Battle of Pennsylvania Michaels? Is this the one you got circled?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one more than any. I don't know that, 174, Labriola and Kemmerer. I mean, Pennsylvania guys in the central United States. Kemmerer looked really good this last week. Labriola did too. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not putting it past Labriola to get the win here. I mean, he's tough. He gave Mark Hall all sorts of fits last year, so.
Well, I was kind of wondering, like, is it because Kemmerer doesn't look like he grew into a small 74-pounder. He looks like he fits this weight. Yeah. And Friday, I didn't know if it was it just a bad cut? Is it a tough cut and overall? Because I mean, in the Indiana duel, I'm terrible for not knowing the guy's name, but he didn't look that strong, especially in the third period. He kind of looked like he was fading, right. But it was the opposite story. For the Purdue duel against Dylan Leidy, of course. So
and Leidy's beaten Labriola, so
yeah, and Kemmerer just kind of looked like he was getting stronger in that match. So maybe it was just a really bad cut that Friday, but yeah,
that was his first match. He didn't wrestle Midlands, did he?
That's a good point. I guess that's probably his first match in a month and probably 40 days. So yeah, that's a good point. It's probably just first cut back. I hadn't really talked it out, so this is what I needed, Drew.
You're right.
You got my confidence.
I'm really looking forward to it, man. I mean, Labriola is not going to give him anything easy. I know that. I think he's, got more than a legit chance of winning that match. He's a bulldog. He's tough. That's the one I'm looking forward to more than any. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to that one too. I kind of like it that I can bill it as the Battle of Pennsylvania Mikes. Yeah, Mike Kemmerer, Mike Labriola. Pennsylvania Mikes. The 184 match though, this is the one.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm really looking forward to figure out what if Murin is a legit podium guy at 41,
or Assad.
But I circled that 41, but I really think like as far as intrigue, that 84 Assad versus Taylor Benz is probably the biggest what we're gonna learn this weekend. I mean, true freshman coming out of redshirt, and it kind of the Midlands run was kind of like, okay, he finally beat somebody. That was like the first time you see him beat somebody. So. I don't know what the room battles are looking like. I saw the wrestle-offs where Assad lost to Wilkie, so I mean, I don't really know if there was more to it. Go ahead.
I'm kind of thinking that maybe Iowa will send Wilkie out there, and the reason I say that is Wilkie beat Venz in the duel last year, so whether or not Assad's going to be the guy that you want at NCAAs. Is Wilkie the guy you want wrestling Taylor Benz this week? Because I mean, it was 3-4 points the match the Wilkie won by. I mean, he kind of controlled it. I mean, he didn't get turned. Venz is tough on top.
That's what I was thinking. Venz is tough on top. That's why I want Assad to go.
Yeah, and if I was in control of the duel, then maybe it's more beneficial for them to go that route. I can't really say. I know Venz teched Johnny Sebastian, who beat Wilkie. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
So that's kind of, I want to see, like, I've never seen Assad have to really work to get out. So I kind of want to see, we talk about Alex Thompson being young freshman and, what it's like with him on bottom. I'm like, I don't even know what a tough rider would do to Abe Assad. Let's figure it out, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Assad's looking great. I mean, maybe they'll throw a curveball and put Nelson Brands in there. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. No, Tom Brand's definitely not full of his bag of tricks isn't empty. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. And hell, maybe we see Jaden Ironman in this duel. Who knows? Well,
Flow Wrestling's really wanting to get everybody thinking that Ironman's coming out of red shirt. I don't think he will, but Yanni's taking an Olympic red shirt. Maybe this is the best year to try and win 141 when Yanni's not in there. So I don't know.
Well, that, and so now that we gotta go down the path of this now, because I feel like it also bears mentioning that, okay, so he didn't qualify in Texas, and that leaves, you can pretty much only qualify for Olympic trials by either winning nationals or last chance qualifier,
yep,
which is right before the trials. So
yep.
Yeah, does he kind of go like, hey, wait a minute, maybe I do want to wrestle NCAA so I can get qualified and have that time off to get ready, if he really thinks he's going to make the Olympic team. So
that's true, man. I mean, when you got a room as deep as Iowa does have, you're inevitably going to run into problems. Running back to Tony Ramos and Daniel Dennis a few years ago. But I mean, how does that work in the room if Ironman comes in and takes Mirren's spot when Mirren's been wrestling pretty well this year? Right. I don't know if I'm sure the coaches and everybody, they probably are all talking about it and working through it, but
we're just two dudes on a podcast right now.
Yeah. I mean, it might be Ironman's best chance to win an NCAA title without even thinking about an Olympic title. I know he's beaten Yanni before, so I'm not going to crown Yanni next year just yet either. But maybe they're talking about it for real. But I kind of just think it's all smoke and mirrors right now. I think Mirren's going to be the guy.
I kind of hope it's Mirren too. I like seeing Max out there, but like I said, Brands, he never fails to find a way to surprise everybody.
Yep.
Whenever he needs to. I don't know, just didn't see Abe Assad coming. Like, I had it such a non-story, like, Iowa released their probables, and they had Abe Assad traveling, and I didn't even put him in my probables for my dual preview, because I'm like, it's a non-starter.
You're right. So, it didn't happen.
Yeah, so I look like an idiot. But, so yeah, that's back to 84. That was a good transition back. I hope it is Abe too in this 84 match with Venz. I want to see what he's like underneath. Wilkie, you said Wilkie beat Venz last year. We all saw that. So
yep.
If Assad's better than Wilkie, he should be able to do it too. So that's kind of what.
Sure.
So we'll see. Well, but I know Taylor Venz is extremely tough. So that's kind of that's the one I'm probably looking forward to the most. And
Venz had Valencia beat, basically. I mean, it was razor thin. I mean, it was so good. And he had, I think, 3 takedowns to 1 against Valencia. I mean,
right.
That's kind of crazy. And then, since he dropped a couple, uncharacteristic losses, whatever you want to call them, the Northern Iowa guy kind of cleaned his clock in the duel. And
yeah, that was nuts too.
Yeah. I mean, there's some rumors like, well, maybe he's not 100%, that kind of thing. I don't know. But, when Venz when he's sharp, he's tough to beat. And, Iowa's got 3 good options there, and we'll see.
That's what we need to know. We need to even know what the rumors are, because we don't get those out here. We don't get them out east. So.
Yeah, well, I will say one thing that's not rumor, and that Tech falling Johnny Sebastian this last weekend, that's pretty impressive. So
that is actually pretty nuts. I mean, I know Johnny Sebastian's not the high school guy we thought he was, like,
right?
But I know, I mean, like you said, he's beaten Wilkie. He did it twice, right? So
yep.
So yeah, that'll be a good match. 97's it's sneaky good. I know Warner's 2-0, but it's a good matchup. Warner looked really good against Brunner.
Yeah, he did.
Brunner. Anyway.
I think it's I say Brunner from
okay.
Purdue.
Well, I'll go with that. He beat Brunner. I mean, I know Warner sometimes does that where he gets like late near fall to make the match look a lot more impressive than it was. Like where you're like, holy crap! Like, it wasn't that close, but I mean, really,
it's just called finishing strong.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but he does it enough where it's kind of like, well, it's kind of his MO. Like it's something he's good at, obviously. So, but yeah, I mean, that match was pretty close until he hit that. He put him on his back, I guess. So I still think 97 sneaky good. I don't know if you got any other thoughts on Schultz Warner.
It was pretty exciting in Lincoln last year when they wrestled. Warner, I think he had the edge. I don't know if it was a takedown or what, but he was leading, and Schultz was really pushing the action, and Warner, and I've come to notice that he just kind of looks tired, even though he really isn't.
Yeah, always.
But that one had the crowd worked up, and I think he got a late takedown to make it 4-1 instead of 2-1.
Yep.
But it was a pretty good match, and Schultz is 14-2 this year, so he's got probably a top 10 guy or close for Nebraska, and maybe he'll pull off a little upset there. When they wrestled last year, I didn't really see it.
Right.
He never came that close to taking down Warner. But if he can figure out a way to get a takedown, then that's going to change the whole match, honestly. So.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we talk a lot about these matches. There is openings. There's probably not going to be, I don't see a lot of these matches that could go Nebraska's way. Probably won't. I feel like we're dancing.
Man,
we're kind of wishy-washy, but
I think
a lot of these will be close at least. But
yeah, I think it's going to be a very competitive duel. But you were right, man. I mean, Iowa's been fantastic all year. There's a reason why they're ranked number 1. Nebraska wrestled Iowa very tough last year. But, on paper, it doesn't look great. So, it doesn't look great. But, I mean, you can't
count them out.
You can't look past Nebraska. I mean, they won the Cliff Keen. They beat, Ohio State, which had won it for several years in a row. I mean, I know that they're not maybe quite like they have been the last few years, but Nebraska beat Ohio State, Arizona State, Northern Iowa at the Cliff Keen. Several other good teams. Minnesota's on there, Purdue, Iowa State, NC State, who's usually up there. So I mean, they're tough, and they have good guys at every weight. But they're going to have to do something crazy or pull off some tremendous upsets, or maybe Iowa doesn't have their top guys in there, to really pull the upset off, especially on the road. That's going to be tough in there.
Hopefully the weather holds up so that it is nice and full. I'm not sure what the weather looks like right now. I think Friday's got some sketchy weather coming in by the time he gets to eastern Iowa, so we'll see. But so Christian Lance is who's ranked by Intermat. So I don't know how you said they kind of been switching. I didn't know if maybe don't know which Jensen's still around, but I know there is.
Well, I think it's David Jensen, and I think he's. I don't think he's the guy.
Nope.
God, who did they? He wrestled in an open tournament over the weekend. I'm trying to think who they wrestled against. Against Wisconsin. Sorry, I don't think it was Christian Lance.
Okay.
I can pull this up real quick though. But I mean, he lost to Hilger, I think it was 3-0. Hilger's tough. He doesn't score a ton of points. Oh, it was Christian Lance, so never mind. Must be Christian Lance is the guy. They did have another guy wrestling early in the year, but Hilger beat Christian Lance 4-1, and Cassiope he beat Hilger in the duel, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
but Cassiope. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't really think Hilger is very like savvy on top, and that's where Cassiope. He's just a mean old bear. When he's wrestling, he's a mean bear. I mean, off the mat, he's a pretty smiley dude, but so that's kind of you talk about some of these matches. Even if they did go Nebraska's way, that's where it goes back to. How many points is Lee going to score on top of 3? DeSanto, is he going to get more than 3? Cassiope. So that'll be the hardest part for Nebraska to overcome. Even if they do get some upsets going in their way, Iowa's got definitely feel a lot better about bonus potential up and down Iowa's lineup. I mean, Venz and Red might be your two biggest. Is that?
What's that?
Venz and Red might be your two biggest bonus potentials. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Venz has pinned some great guys over the years, so he's a huge threat. And Chad Red, man, he can go off quick. He pinned that. He was All-American a couple years ago from NC State in like 40 seconds. So, and I think he's tech block us before, and I mean he's dangerous, so we got an opportunity there. Again, you just never quite know in these duels if they're going to bring, all of the top guys in the lineup. So, maybe there's someone else wrestling for Iowa that isn't their normal starter, and that could present an opportunity there too. But sure. We'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I think we're expecting it's probably, I mean, it's obviously favoring Iowa, but we're expecting a pretty tight. There's going to be some good matches. Overall, I think this is what we wanted for. If you're an Iowa fan, you wanted to see.
Yeah.
I mean, Nebraska coming in. We love to hate on Nebraska. I'm thinking my headline's going to be Iowa grows better corn than Nebraska.
Oh boy.
Stir the pot. No, so it'll be a good duel. Are you coming out then?
No, I wish I was. I was following wrestling around all last weekend. I went to a pretty cool tournament here in Nebraska last week. It had teams from all 4 classes. Pretty fun deal. But this weekend I'll just sit back and watch from my computer probably.
Yeah, it's probably safest. Like I said, who knows what's rolling in weather front wise. It's easy. Stay home and just throw on BTN, man.
Yeah, and it's a big deal for Nebraska coming off. They got upset against Wisconsin, so it'll be a gut check for them. It's going to be a tough environment. Obviously, Nebraska's the underdogs, but they're still one of the top teams in the country. And this will, no matter what really happens on, this weekend against Iowa, for Nebraska, it's just it'll probably benefit them at the end of the year. So, hopefully we get some exciting matches. That's really all we can ask for, right?
Oh man, for sure. I think we'll get them. So, I'll be boots on the ground if you need something for the NE Wrestle site. So. I do want to thank you, Dru, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
You guys kill it out in Nebraska. I mean, a lot of people have probably been seeing the IA Wrestle high school previews, and they've been seeing all these Nebraska teams that cross over the border, and we're probably using your rankings, man. Probably like you specifically. So, which class are you class?
I'm
C?
Class C. We have a guy for each class. I think you guys do it that way as well. But we all kind of communicate with each other. And like I said, just this last weekend, it was an awesome tournament in Columbus, Nebraska. The 2 out of the top 3 tournament teams in Class A, the top 2 teams in Class C, the top 5 dual team in Class B, number 1 ranked kid in Class D. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and that's, that's going to help us kind of make sure our rankings are all squared away here in a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, if you're even curious about Nebraska, we have some pretty cool previews, and Millard South and Omaha Scud have been over into Iowa more than once, and Millard South is number one in Class A for a reason. I think they went over to Iowa and won the few tournaments they've been in, and Omaha Scud was at the Mendenhall, and I think they had a couple champs out there at the Mendenhall just last weekend. And Millard South was at the Roland Dyer tournament. They won that one, and then another Class A team, Grand Island, they got second in that one. So Nebraska's got some pretty good teams. I know I was the
we like the
wrestling state, the wrestling state or whatever. But we've seen a real big improvement in the quality of wrestling in Nebraska over the last few years. We're getting more All-Americans in Fargo than we really ever have. Making the gold pools and the freestyle and Greco duels and stuff like that. So we're trending up. We put out some good content just like you guys do. So check us out.
100%. So yeah, I mean, you guys know how to get to iawrestle.com. So just change the IA to NE, and you'll be golden. You can check out what Dru's doing over there. Dru, Rob, Colin, Kevin, all you guys are killing it. So thanks again for dropping on and talking about this duel. Thanks for everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
GBR, go Huskers.